signal goes.
If you're going out.
It's a
You wanna
real
go
weak-
ahead and pull it up?
Real weak signal here.
Set up
Church on Wheels, what, 5?
5784.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Church on Wheels 5784.
Gotcha.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Dr. Jeffrey Goodine, and this is another edition of Bible Study 2024. Thank you all for tuning in. Like us on YouTube at Pastor Jeffrey Goodine. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified every time a new video comes out. You will be notified so that you could tune in. Like us on Facebook. Follow us at Church on Wheels, Let the Good News Roll. That is our Facebook group page. Facebook Live, Jeffrey Goodine. Twitter, at Goodine Jeffrey. Instagram, Goodine Jeffrey. And Clubhouse, Church on Wheels Ministry. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. We are continuing our The Power of God's Names. Tonight we're going to cover Jehovah Shalom. Jehovah Shalom. This is the Lord is peace. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse. Send me an email, pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com. That's pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com. I will add you to the list and you will get a copy of the handout so you can follow along with us. Also, you could take this, I encourage you to take this handout and create your own Bible study. I mean, you can use this as a guide. If you want to use it verbatim, then please go right ahead. I encourage you to sign up, get the handout, and then do your own Bible study. We do ours on Thursday night. You might want to do it another night, which is fine. And I'm already doing what God's already providing a guideline for you. So, Pastor Jeffrey Goodine at gmail.com, Pastor Jeffrey Goodine at gmail.com, and we'll add you to the list and you'll get a copy of the handout. Tonight, the Lord is peace. Now, when we talk about peace, you think about what it is that in our lives. You know, they say we have peace. You know, but do we really have peace? Really, peace might not be if nobody else is bothering us. There's no more drama and stuff like that going on from anybody else. But a lot of times, the turmoil or the worst turmoil is in our own soul. We just, as I say, if you leave mankind to himself, you will self-destruct. If you leave him to himself, you'll self-destruct. So there's turmoil that's going on. And a lot of times we don't know how to address it. But there is turmoil. The turmoil is within our soul. You know, there's a war that's going on within us. There's a war that's going on within us. Again, he's coming at us. And he's coming at us in our minds. In our minds, he's going to make it think that it's worse than it is. And he's going to get us off of our track, per se. And then that's when the turmoil starts. People have turmoil. People have drama in their lives. And usually when the turmoil and the drama starts is when we start asking the questions. Lord, why me? Lord, why me? Why is it happening at this time? Why is it that I cannot seem to get ahead of? You know, whatever we can come up with. Whatever we come up with. But tonight we're going to cover Jehovah Shalom. The Lord is peace. If you want peace, first you got to find it in the Lord, because trust me, there is chaos in that. If you're thinking about chaos now, we are in an election year now. The chaos is just starting for this year. And you're going to see a whole lot of chaos going on. It's just going to be overwhelming. But don't worry about it. try not to worry about it. You know, I'm telling people don't worry about it because there are other things that are going on in our lives that create turmoil within ourselves. See, a lot of times we forget about the stuff that's out there, but the war is within. And that's the worst kind of turmoil. That's the turmoil to the turmoil's nth degree is turmoil in our souls. When nobody else is around. See, nobody's bothering us. There's no drama with outside forces. It is us. And a lot of times, that war within does not end well. A lot of times, it just does not end well. And, you know, and then we ask the question, well, what happened? And could they have gotten help? And, you know, things of that nature. But we don't know the war that's going on inside. We just don't know that. We try to analyze it and all of that, but we do not know the war that's going on inside. Just because there's no drama anywhere else around you, that doesn't mean that there's no war inside. And so tonight we're going to address that. And if you are tuning in and you got a war or something going on in your side, inside of you, I want you to pay attention tonight because I'm going to show you how you can find this peace.
Yeah, last week we had the giants in us that we're fighting.
Right.
The giants in our life.
The giants in our lives, and they can create turmoil. And so this one is we're taking away the giants. Now we're looking at ourselves because there's a lot of turmoil in ourselves. You know, it's just turmoil in ourselves. And, you know, we don't know the answer. We try to find, well, look, I'm going to give you the answer tonight. So, in the handout, I put, even though we experience turmoil on so many levels in our temporary world, turmoil itself is nothing new. The search for peace and tranquility spans ages and cultures. God's name that we are going to get to know in this chapter speaks directly to our need for calm, security, and stability. It is the name Jehovah Shalom, which means the Lord is peace. Now, there's only one place in the Bible where Jehovah Shalom actually appears. It actually appears. And we'll get, I'll show you what it is, but it's in the book of Judges. In the book of Judges. Now, the backdrop to a book of Judges is after they've reached the promised land, after Joshua has led them in the promised land, Joshua dies. Now the people are doing whatever it is that they want to do, which kind of sounds like us today. People are just doing what they want to do. You know, as they say, no harm, no foul. So whatever it is that I want to do, which again, the line of morality keeps moving. Because at one time we used to say there are some things that nobody will do. Regardless of your skin color, regardless of your regardless of all of that, there's some things that you will not do. No matter what. Nobody got to tell you that. Well, guess what? That line has been erased. And now they're doing those things. And then we say, well, okay, we can do that. But now there's something else that nobody else will do. That nobody will do. Well, guess what? The morality line gets erased and they do it. And so now, where we are, now people just do anything. You know? And we say, if it don't bother nobody, then it's okay. I mean, that's kind of a bad way to look at it, but that's kind of the way we look at it. Like, if they do it over there, they can let it stay over there. But when it starts coming over here, then we got a problem with that. And I understand that, but there's turmoil that's going on. There's turmoil that's going on. And we're going to address that. So in Judges chapter 6, this is the story of Gideon. Now you're going to have to look at what has happened. And again, I tell you that they did evil in the sight of the Lord. They did evil. When Joshua died, which what they were looking at, then there was a time that there was really no king per se, no leader per se. So they raised up judges to judge the people. And, you know, when you read the book of Judges, you will see that they did evil in the sight of the Lord. Now, in Judges 6, 1 to 10, and I'm reading from the NIV tonight, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and for 7 years he gave them into the hands of the Midianites. Now, what you think about the Midianites? Here are the people that Moses stayed with for 40 years. So he stayed there in the land of Midian. He married a Midianite. His father-in-law, a Midianite. And now, God has put them into the hands of the Midianite. Why? It's because they did evil. He said, because the power of Midian was so oppressive, the Israelites prepared shelters for themselves in the mountain clefts, caves, and strongholds. It was so bad until they put them in caves. And then verse 3 says, whenever the Israelites planted their crops, the Midianites, Amalekites, and other eastern people invaded the country. They camped on the land, ruined the crops all the way to Gaza, and did not spare a living thing for Israel, neither sheep, nor cattle, nor donkey. Everything was gone away. They came up with their livestock and their tents like swarms of locusts. You couldn't count them. They invaded the land. So Midian, so impoverished it was like that, they cried out to the Lord for help. If we have allowed outside forces, it's because something we did. Something we did. That turmoil that's going on in us is something we did. Something we did. Now they're in the promised land now. Don't forget that. They're in the land of milk and honey. Everything is given to them. And here they are. Now verse 7 says, when the Israelites cried out to the Lord because of Midian, he sent them a prophet who said, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel says, I brought you up out of Egypt, out of land of slavery. I rescued you from the hand of the Egyptians. I delivered you from the hand of all your oppressors. I drove them out before you and gave you their land. We're in the promised land. I said to you, I am the Lord your God. Do not worship the gods of the Amorites in whose lands you live. But you have not listened to me. In other words, they got good, as I say. See, when things are going bad in our lives per se, then we go to church and we call on them or we pray or whatever. But then when we can rub two nickels together, then we stop. And other things happen. Here the Bible said that I told you not to worship the gods of the Amorites, but you have not listened. You have not listened. So then I put here in the thing, Jehovah Shalom appears in the book of Judges. And I put it, you can arrive at the place God has for you and still have turmoil. They arrived at the place that God loved and they still had turmoil. And they didn't know why. Why was he allowing the Midianites to overtake us? Why? For 7 years. For 7 years. They couldn't grow no crops. They couldn't have no animals. I mean, they were living in caves. I mean, he just said you can reach your goal and yet remain defeated simply because you have taken your eyes off of God. That's what they did. See, we know what the turmoil is. We're just not telling anybody. We know what the problem is. We're just not telling anybody. You know you took your eyes off. You know you did. And that's what's happening. That's why that turmoil is going on in your life. And you say, well, ain't nobody bothering me, ain't nobody. Yeah, but there's turmoil is going on in your life because you took your eyes off the prize. You could be in the promised land and at the same time be outside the will of God. They're in the promised land. They're in the land that God promised them, and they are still outside of the will of God. Now I put here the book of Judges is a cyclical, I get it out. Cyclical book. The pattern repeats itself.
Yep.
So as you begin at the beginning, you'll see that it repeats itself. The Israelites rebel against God through their sin. Their sin leads to punishment and discipline. The discipline drives them back to repentance. God responds to their repentance with deliverance, and then the pattern repeats. Now you think about it. The pattern repeats. Sin, punishment, repentance, deliverance. So think about it in our lives when we call on Him and He hears our cry. Remember the Bible said the poor man called on the Lord and the Lord delivered him from all of his troubles. So when He calls on us, He delivers us from our troubles. Guess what? We go back and do the same thing again. And then we cry to Him again, and then He delivers us again. Do you know that we have that kind of a God? Yes, we do. That's why we call on Him in our times of trouble. And then we forget about Him when things going good, and then we call on Him again, and He delivers us, and then we go right back into the same stuff again. Come on. Come on, y'all. Come on here, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, Congregation, anybody here. You know that. You've done it before. You said, Lord, if you get me out of this, I won't do it no more. And guess what? You end up doing it and liking it more the second time. So, yes, we have. So, they did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. So He removed His protective hand from them and allowed the Midianites to take control. He let them hit rock bottom. And I put you as He does with us today. When we walked away from Him in our hearts and in our actions, He'll allow us to hit rock bottom. But He's the only option when we hit rock bottom. Now I'm going to tell you this. If you haven't been to rock bottom yet, trust me. If you get out of His will, you will get there. You will get there. You might already be there, working your way up. You might already be at rock bottom. I don't know. But I can tell you this. If you get out of His will, He will allow you to hit rock bottom. That's what He did. Now remember now, these are the chosen people now. Don't forget that. These are the chosen people in the land that He gave them. And they did evil in His sight. So He took His hand away from them and let the enemy take over. And so, this is where He approaches. Now I put here to be like Mike.
All right.
Judges 6, 11, 24. And then when you read this, this is Him speaking to Gideon. But we got to remember, Gideon is threshing wheat in a wine press to hide from the Midianites. Because if the enemy knew what he was doing, they would come and take his wheat from him. But something that the Lord did, and you got to look at this, He addressed Gideon. The Lord is with you. mighty warrior. Mighty warrior. See, he saw something in Gideon that Gideon didn't see in himself. See, God sees something in us that we don't even see in ourselves. That's why we have so much turmoil in our lives. Because we don't get to see it. We don't. In fact, we might not even be looking for it, to tell you the truth. We might not be looking for it. So, he speaks to Gideon. He addresses him. And Gideon has to ask the question. He said, pardon me, Lord, in verse 13, pardon me, Lord. But if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? What do we say? Why me, Lord? Why now? And here's Gideon saying the same thing. I mean, yeah, just different words, but he's saying, you know, where are all these wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, did not Lord bring you up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian. Why, Lord? Why are we going? Why do I have to go through this now? Why now? Why me? Why us? Because we walked away from him. And God is the only option. God called Gideon. Now, tell you about Gideon. In verse 15, here's Gideon saying, now remember now, when God called Moses, Moses had what? A bunch of excuses. He said he couldn't live up to it. God said, I'll fix that. If you can't talk, I'll send your brother Aaron with you to talk. But here, Gideon says, pardon me, Lord, but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family. Now here's an excuse. I can't do it. It's just too much. I can't do it. He's saying, God, my family is the least in the tribe of Manasseh, and I am the least of my family. So he's saying he's not prepared. So he's saying, God, why all of this is happening? And now you calling me? See, this is our problem that we have sometimes, is that when God says, all right, get up, tie up your bootstraps, and let's move it. But you say, God, why I can't do it. Excuse number one, excuse number two, excuse number three, and however it is. You know, God say, just get up and do it. But we choose not to. And in Gideon, I put here, God often calls the ordinary man or woman to do extraordinary things. The Lord said, I will be with you. You will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive. Now here's a big task. God said, I can help you overcome all your troubles. And then you start looking at your troubles. And then your troubles start getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you say, well, God, I don't have the power to do that. God said, I'll be with you. You got to change the way you think. Now in verse 17 he says, now I have found favor in your eyes. Give me a sign that it is really you talking to me. Good gracious alive. Don't that sound like us?
All the time.
Now, I'm just saying, you can get this, read this for yourself. He asked the same question we do. And this is long before any of us was born. He's asking the same question. God, if that's you, then give me a sign.
You know, I found that, especially with people I've kind of witnessing, if you want to call it too, over the years, that were an atheist or used to be an atheist. I kind of fell into that trap years ago after I pulled away from God. But I said, you know what? Just if you don't believe in God, or you're having trouble believing in God, and you want proof, keep asking over and over, and it might take a while. And some people it happens quicker, but I've had a lot of people say that eventually they did. With myself as well, I asked God, if you're really there, give me some kind of a sign, show yourself, you know. And it doesn't mean stand right in front of me, you know, because we can't see God directly, but sure enough, there's always a sign that comes up in your life.
Yes.
That God will let you know He's there.
He's there.
If you think about it enough, it's, you know.
He will.
If you're open to it, He'll reveal Himself.
Yes. And when it comes, when He reveals Himself, you will know
Exactly.
that is Him.
Oh yeah. You
Without a doubt.
There's no mistake then.
Yeah, there's no mistake.
Then you have a oh wow moment,
Yeah.
you know.
Then you like,
The light bulb goes off.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you know, I'm glad you said, you know, and that's hard to tell somebody. It's hard to tell, it's hard to explain to them that I asked and He answered. And then you try to tell them, they say, well, how did He answer? And then you go blank because
No, I asked and He answered.
you know what that, trying to tell them what that was.
Yeah.
And if they're not spiritual, they won't get it.
Right.
They gotta be specific.
But if they really want to know, you know, God hears even the sinner, you know, or, you know, we're all sinners to the day of God, but God hears the lost, I should say, even the ones that don't believe in Him. He hears them if they sincerely want to know, is this right or wrong? Is there a God or is there not?
Yeah,
And if you really in your heart seek, you shall find,
right.
you know.
And when you look
It's
at
powerful.
what He did, He told the angel, okay, hold on, wait a minute. Don't go nowhere until I come back and bring my offering. And you say I'm bringing my offering to you. So he goes, he prepared a young goat and an ephah of flour. He made bread without yeast, put it in a basket, broth in a pot, brought it out and offered it to Him under the oak. And when you read here, you'll see that the Lord showed Himself.
Amen.
When He put the meat and the bread and the broth and up on the rock, the angel touched it, poof, gone.
Yep.
That was His sign. That was His sign. Now our signs may not be like, it might be, I don't know. But here, and then when it happened, after He showed Himself, He disappeared. And he knew then that was the Lord. He knew then. Because that was something way out of the ordinary.
Yeah. That's kind of the way it happened with me. It was like, oh man, that had to be God. There's no way that would have ever happened or occurred without, you know.
Right, without His intervention.
Correct.
Right. And we all know that. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, congregation, anybody can hear me. You know that. You're just not telling anybody. You know that.
You know, I just thought there's a lot of people that they've had that moment.
Yeah.
They just didn't know. They just write it off as something I can't explain. You hear
Right.
People go, I can't explain.
I can't explain it. Instead of giving the credit
Yeah.
to God, you know you can't explain it.
Something happened. It was really wild.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it.
I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
And so you see here, and they said, we didn't realize it was the angel of the Lord. He said, alas, sovereign Lord, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. He's seen it. He said, but the Lord said to him, peace. Do not be afraid. You're not going to die. So he built an altar. Right where he was. He built an altar to the Lord there and called it, the Lord is peace. Jehovah Shalom. And to this day it stands in Oprah in the Abiezrite.
Isn't shalom, I didn't want to get ahead of myself here, but you hear that a lot in Hebrew, in the Jewish,
They say hello. Shalom
right,
means peace.
That's their hello.
That's
peace.
their hello.
Yeah.
Regardless of the turmoil that's going on in your life.
It's kind of like hello and goodbye, right?
Yeah, yeah, shalom. That means peace.
Peace be with you.
Yeah, peace. And we take it and use it, but the shalom means peace.
Right.
Peace be with you, however we want to think, but it means peace.
Right.
And so when we address people and we use shalom, what we're actually saying to them is peace to you.
Right.
Hope there's peace in your life.
But
Hope you find peace.
and God is peace.
And God is peace.
Correct.
And here he found peace knowing God was near. Immediately went to peace. Out of all the turmoil that was going on, when he realized that God was present with him, he found peace. He found peace. Now, when we think about what is peace, now, we realize that Gideon needed God. God didn't need Gideon. He called Gideon. But Gideon needed God to, let's say, to do what it is that to have the peace, to be at peace with God calling me to do this. Being at peace, knowing that he's near. That now he says, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. But he asked for a sign. Now, when we read a little bit later on in Gideon, there's another sign that he asked. He asked.
You know, this kind of really speaks to me too, not to interrupt, but that's kind of exactly what I went through the other night when my dad called about mom, you know, telling my mom that they found cancer again. Because it says, you know, when God is near, you know, and God must have been near because I just felt this calmness and peacefulness, you know, versus getting upset right away and fearing the worst and, you know, thinking that, you know, letting Satan get a hold of my head.
Right.
Matter of fact, I was also saying, get out of my head, Satan, no negative thoughts. I really feel comfortable that God's got this, you know.
And when we look at Gideon, remember Gideon is feeling the pressure and the turmoil from the Midianites. He sees what situation is at hand. He knows it's beyond his control because he's having to hide in a wine press to separate the wheat and the chaff. In the chaff. Yeah, he had to hide. He's like, they ain't gonna look for me in the wine press, you know, while I'm doing the wheat. So he's hiding. See, sometimes we hide behind our turmoil. We hide it. See, we don't want other people to see it. And that's why that war is within us. So Gideon had a war going on within him. He didn't feel safe. He saw what was going on for 7 years. He had a turmoil going on in his life. And then when the angel came and called him, he said, "Where is God now? Where is he? All of this going on. Where is he?"
You know what's really cool is, I keep interrupting, I'm sorry.
No.
This really speaks to today because he was hiding behind a wine press. Today, people hide behind alcohol. And
right.
They got turmoil in their lives. They got depression. They got this, that, and they try to cover that with, you know, get rid of that thought or the turmoil in their lives by hiding behind alcohol or drugs or whatever.
Or whatever it is, whatever vice that they got, they try to use that to deflect.
Right.
And that's all you're going to get is a deflection. That's all you're going to get. The problem's still there.
Yeah.
The feeling is still there. The turmoil is still there.
Right. We need to address it with God. Hide behind God or within God.
Yeah. And when we say, you know, what is peace? Shalom means wholeness, completeness, or well-being. And I put here peace means no more drama. Harmony and balance. That's the way we think about it. This is the fault of man. Man thinks that peace means that ain't no more drama. That I got harmony and balance in my life. But there's still a turmoil that's going on inside. Just because we ain't got no drama from our family members and friends and all of that, and just because we think, we got our bills paid and we just, everything's hunky-dory. No, it's not. You're missing something. You're missing something. Because we all know we're missing something. Whenever we missing something, no matter how much money we got, no matter how much money we don't have, we always missing something. We're not full. Big house, fancy car, all of that stuff, no more drama, but we still empty. We're not full.
See it all the time with rich people and celebrities.
Right, we're not full.
Still not happy.
So, and I put here, peace is not tied to circumstances. Because I can tell you this, if peace was tied to circumstances, some of us would never have peace. Now you know what I'm talking about, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, Congregation, anybody, you know it, man. You know that. It's not tied to circumstances. And I put well-being regardless of circumstances. Now you got to look at the circumstance. See, now Gideon feels safe now is because he's talked to the Lord and the Lord showed him who he was. He feels safe now. Even though they're still in turmoil. Even though the Midianites are still coming and destroying their land, the Midianites, they're still in the hands of the Midianites. But now there's some peace. There's some peace now. It doesn't matter about the circumstances. So a person who is at peace is stable, calm, orderly, and at rest within. Your well-being resonates from within, despite what's going on all around. Now think about it this way. Now think about it. When Peter got out of the boat to walk, he was at peace. Until he did what? Until he started looking around at the storm. He took his eyes off the prize and he started looking at the storm. Now guess what? The storm wasn't bothering him. The storm was just around him. See, that's the part we missed. Storm, he wasn't in the storm. The storm was around him. But see, when the storm is going on around us, we lose focus. And that's what happened to the Israelites. The storm was going on around them. The Midianites was sending, every time they planned something, the Midianites, the Amalekites was coming, they would bring their animals on their land and just run over all that stuff, so much so till they were living in caves. And in order to thresh the wheat, they had to do it in a place where you would say you wouldn't even go here looking for wheat. They're hiding.
They're panicking over the sky is falling. Over
Right, the sky is falling, sky is falling. And so, yeah. Don't that sound like us today?
Yep.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And we hide behind all of these things. I mean, all of these things. And then I put something in here that John chapter 16, verse 13. And I'll put this in here.
No, verse 33.
I mean, what am I looking at? 33.
Actually, if you start
Yeah.
at 29 through 30, it really sets
Right.
it up. And Jesus is talking to his disciples.
Right. These glasses work, you know. I paid a lot of money for these glasses. I really did. I really did. 16:32.
Yeah, but the person behind the glasses isn't working.
Yeah. The person behind it not working. Said, and let's start at 29. It's a good thing, Rick. Good. It said, then Jesus' disciples said, now you are speaking clearly and without figures of speech. Now we can see that you know all things and that you do not even need to have anyone ask you questions. This makes us believe that you came from God.
Amen.
Now remember now, here, Gideon, he didn't have to ask no question. All he did was say, why is this happening to us? And then he said, hold on a minute. Let me go get my offering because I perceive you to be the Lord. So he went and got his offering. And then the angel showed him that he was who he said he was. It says now in verse 7, do you now believe? A time is coming, and in fact has come, when you will be scattered, each to your own home. You will leave me all alone, yet I am not alone, for my Father is with me. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart, I have overcome the world. Now he's telling us he's overcome the world. But we got to be in him. See, what happened to them is that they got out of the will of God and turmoil. Now look. Now look. You know that when you get out the will of God, you know there's turmoil. You know that. You just ain't telling nobody.
I was going to say, yeah, we can't overcome the world,
Right.
but through Jesus we can.
You know there's turmoil in your life. You know that. And you know where it comes from. See, the problem is that we're not telling anybody. We're trying to hide, like Rick said, we're trying to hide behind the alcohol. We're trying to hide behind the drug. We're trying to hide in the wine press. Is what we're trying to do. We're trying to hide in the wine press, doing something in the wine press, like, thrashing wheat in the wine press, hide behind what's actually going on. They were in turmoil. Not only was they in turmoil with the enemy, but they were in turmoil within themselves. Because for turmoil to be within itself, the Gideon had to ask, why? If you are a loving God, why? And then you can fill that in with your life. And, you say, why? And usually, we have, the Christian says, why?
It's also here Jesus' warning at that time his disciples, because he was leaving and going back to the Father in heaven, but he's telling them, you're always going to have troubles in this world. That's the world, but don't worry, because I've already overcame it.
Right. And if I've already overcome the world, then you and me, there'll be peace.
Yeah,
you already know he's all this. Whatever's going on, we won't need to look at that, because we've got peace within, and that's what Gideon resolved to when he had his encounter with the angel. See, the angel left him alone after he had revealed himself, but there was a peace and a calm that came over Gideon. Now, as we read on, he built the altar and he called it the Lord is peace. This is where it shows up in the Bible. The Lord is peace. That's what he called the place. Shalom. And so, that's what he did. Now, how many of us, don't answer this, would be willing to accept the fact, to accept this peace when all, as they say, when all hell is breaking loose around us? I'm going to tell you why it would happen. It's because we take our eyes off the prize. Remember, the storm is just going on around us. The bills are due and there's the food and then all of the stuff and all of those things. That's going on around you. It really is. It's going on around you. It's going on around you. And ready? You lose the house, you lose the car, you lose all of those things. You're still you. You're still you. You can lose it all. And trust me, people do. They lose it all.
Job.
But guess what? It's still you. It's still you. then you realize that those things that was going on around us, yeah, it's, you know, they went on around us. And so what he's telling us today through Gideon is that the reason why these things is going on in your life, the reason why you have turmoil is because you've taken your eyes off of me. And when you take your eyes off of me, there's not going to be any peace. There's going to always be turmoil. Because, you know, the enemy wins. Yes, he does. The enemy wins. We have to accept that. We have to accept that the enemy wins. Now, how do we enter into this name of God, Jehovah Shalom? How do we enter into this peace? How do we enter into this peace? Now, you know, if you think about it, Gideon entered that peace when he recognized God in his presence. Well, guess what? Jesus is in our presence. But we looking someplace else. And how do we enter? And I'll put here on the thing, standing firmly in faith in our connection to Jesus Christ, as we see him usher in light where there was darkness. Gideon was in darkness. They were in darkness. The enemy was taking over them. They were in darkness. So we're in that dark time in our lives when things are not going well. We took our eyes off of them. Took our eyes off of them. And look at what happened. Well, that's what he's saying with the Israelites here with Gideon. They took their eyes off of him. And he allowed the enemy to come in for 7 years. Until he raised up somebody. So that meant for 7 years, everybody was tied into what they were doing. For 7 years. Everybody was hiding behind the alcohol, hiding behind the drugs, hiding behind this and hiding behind that, and wanting to know why. Thrashing wheat in a wine press, you know, just